Thank you for browsing page 121. Today we're going to go to the Player's Handbook and we're going to take a look at an excellent utility spell for magic users. It's a 4th level magic user. If you're noticing I'm in a bit of a magic user spell rut, you're right. I like MU spells. Fire Shield. It's an evocation alteration. This is a really good utility spell. It's level 4, range is 0. It lasts 2 rounds plus 1 round per level. So for our 10th level mage, as I usually do with these videos, it would last 12 rounds. Area of effect is personal, so you can only cast this on yourself. Verbal, somatic, and material components. Casting time is 4 segments and no saving throw. And the explanation is, by casting the spell, the magic user appears to immolate him or herself. But the flames are thin and wispy, shedding light equal to only half that of a normal torch, 15-foot radius of dim light. And colored blue or green if variation A is cast, violet or blue if variation B is employed. Any creature striking the spellcaster with body or handheld weapons will inflict normal damage upon the magic user, but the attacker will take double the amount of damage so inflicted. The other spell powers depend on the variation of the spell used. If you use A, the flames are hot, and any cold-based attacks will be saved against it +2 on the dice, and either half damage or no damage will be sustained. Fire-based attacks are normal, but if the magic user fails to make the required saving throw, if any, against them, he or she will sustain double normal damage. The material component for this variation is a bit of phosphorus. For variation B, the flames are cold, and any fire-based attack will be saved against at +2 on the dice, and either half normal damage or no damage will be sustained. Cold-based attacks are normal, saved as normal, but if the magic user fails to make the required saving throw, if any, against them, he or she will sustain double normal damage. The material component for this variation is a live firefly or a glowworm, or the tail portions of 4 dead ones. So you have to kind of pick which variation you're going to cast as you're casting it. You can have this in memory and then choose A or B. I don't require each one to be held separate in memory, taking up 2 spell slots for the spell. You have to have the material components for both on hand if you want to flip between the two. But let's unpack some of this. You surround yourself with light flames. So that would be really good against an insect plague or anything like that, where the bugs are on you. I would say the bugs would be immolated if you had this up. So if you were the target of it and the bugs got near you, the light flames would be enough to immolate the bugs. And even the cold version would be enough to freeze them and stun them, if not kill them outright. So either way, I would say you were proof against that spell while you have this on. Now, when you're struck by handheld or body weapons, so if a creature's got a claw bite routine or if they're wielding a sword, either way, when they strike the magic user takes normal damage. However, the creature that swung and inflicted the damage takes double the damage. So if you had a creature swing a sword and inflict 6 points of damage, the magic user would take the 6 points of damage, but the creature would take 12. And that's true for each and every physical attack that lands, physical melee attack that lands. So that's pretty interesting. It does not cover missile weapons. So if somebody's firing a bow at you, you don't get double damage, you just take the damage. Also, if you have a stone skin on, and the very first strike comes in, the way we do stone skin is the very first strike is the only one that the stone skin protects against. So my magic user is swung at by my monster using a longsword, and the longsword swings in, successfully strikes the armor class, and then it inflicts 6 damage, except, of course, we hear the word ting. It's a signal at our table that the stone skin has been used. The stone skin is used up, and 0 damage is inflicted. Because of that, the magic user takes no damage, therefore 6 times 0 is 0. The creature takes no damage. We had a bit of an argument about this in the early days when Stone Skin came around and during Dragon Magazine, that the creature still, quote, did damage, unquote. But it says right here that the creature takes double, the attacker takes double the amount of damage so inflicted. You're not inflicting any damage if a Stone Skin intervenes. That's the way we ruled it. I could listen to the other argument, and I did, but ultimately I decided, at my table at least, it was going to be you have to actually inflict damage. So if something had a poisonous sting, it's not reflecting the poison back into the creature. So the sting may do no damage, depending on how small the creature is or whatever, or it may do a point of damage, The creature will take 2 points of damage, but it won't take the poison. The magic user will still have to deal with the poison. So there are a couple of ways around this. And then when the flames are hot, any cold-based attack is saved at +2 on the dice. We don't allow, it'd be better to talk about it as the flames are cold, because you would take double damage for cold-based attacks. We don't allow that if it's Ice Storm. Ice Storm is more battering by the ice chunks that are brought into being by it, rather than actual cold doing the damage. So if somebody hit you with a cone of cold, yes, and you failed your saving throw, you would take double the damage as the magic user who failed to save and had cold flames on. But if you were hit by an ice storm, then you would not take double damage at my table, simply because it's a battering effect. It's not cold that's inflicting the damage. That's the way we've ruled it. Also, interesting thing about this spell, of course, you can only cast it on yourself. You can't cast it on others. I love that, by the way. And it's only against body or handheld weaponry. Interestingly, I have toyed with creating a version of this that would work against missiles only. I love the idea of what it would do to a bow specialist who was able to shoot you. So if you took, the bow specialist threw a 4, he was in point blank range. It's 4 plus 2 is 6, doubles to 12. The magic user would take the 12 points of damage. The shooter would take 24, would take double the damage if I allowed or created a variant version that allowed this to work against missiles only. I would never include magic missiles in that, by the way. I would not also allow a version of this spell that did both, that worked against missile and melee damage, unless it was brought to 6th or 7th level. Then I might talk to a player about it. But I have actually toyed with the idea of having one of my characters invest the time and the money and the effort into a fire shield that would work against missile weapons. I think that could be kind of a neat little wrinkle on this spell. So it would actually give you 4 different ways to cast this. You could cast it against melee, you could cast it against missiles, you could cast it flames are hot or flames are cold. But I would actually make the missile one be a separate spell. So that's a slight misspeak on my part. I would make you take another 4th level slot. One for melee and hand weaponry, and another for missiles, if I allowed that spell. So maybe one of these days I'll type that idea up and I'll put it on my Patreon as a free thing, just as a follow-up to this video. But that's all I've got to say today on an excellent spell, Fire Shield. I really recommend it. I think it's a great utility spell that can save the magic user a lot of problems. One other thing before I go. A magic user in our game, if they have an armor spell on, gets phantom hit points. If phantom hit points are what's being taken off by the attack while you're shielded by the fire shield, for instance, if I have 12 phantom hit points, then I would still allow the damage to echo back into the attacker. Even though those aren't your actual hit points, they are part of your hit point total at the moment. And we have ruled that those absolutely count as damage, and that damage would be doubled and reflected back to the attacker. Also keep in mind, it's important to remember that the attacker would get a magic resistance check each and every time they struck the magic user with the fire shield. And I do 1 per round. So if it's a claw bite, say from a demon, and the demon's got a 30% magic resistance, and my 10th level mage is the one that casts the spell, the demon would have 35% resistance, because it would get a slight increase in its resistance because my mage is 10th level. So you'd have 35%, but I would only allow that as a 1 per round check. It's an all or nothing thing. It wouldn't be per attack. Now you can do it per attack. I do it just by round, simply to keep things moving along. That's simply an expedience thing for me. I don't disagree with doing it by attack. That's all I've got to say today from page 121. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked what you heard and saw. And if you did, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.